My name is Martha Reynolds. My life used to be quite ordinary, or at least I thought so. I lived with my husband Daniel, and we had two wonderful children. We believed we had a happy life, not too extravagant, but fulfilling. But then an event changed everything. I was diagnosed with a heart condition. The doctor said I needed surgery, but I wasn't too worried since it was a routine procedure. That morning, I entered the hospital feeling nervous, but also hopeful. I remember the moment of anesthesia, and then I died. My heart stopped beating right there on the operating table. In one brief moment, I felt pain, and then I left my body. I realized I was floating above, looking down at my own motionless body on the operating table. The doctors and nurses were trying to revive me, but I didn't feel panic. Instead, an overwhelming sense of peace embraced me. I saw Daniel, my husband, waiting outside the surgery room, his face filled with worry. I wanted to tell him I was still here, but he couldn't see me. Then a powerful light appeared in front of me. I was pulled into it, unable to resist. I stepped into a place filled with light, not blinding, but warm and full of love. Every burden in my soul disappeared. And then I saw him. I didn't need an introduction. I knew immediately that it was Jesus Christ. He looked at me with eyes full of love, yet there was a solemnity in his gaze. "It is not yet your time to leave," he said, "but before you return, there is something very important you must know." He took my hand, and suddenly the scene around us changed. A strong force pulled me downward. The peace I had felt vanished instantly. The air thickened, the temperature soared, and an unbearable heat burned my skin. Worse than the heat was the choking stench of burning sulfur. I tried to scream, but my voice was lost amid the agonizing cries echoing from all directions. These were not just screams, they were the desperate wails of tormented souls. I turned, searching for an escape, but all I saw was darkness and figures writhing in agony. The ground beneath me was not solid, it was a molten lake of fire. "No, not here," a voice cried beside me. I turned, and my heart shattered. Sarah, my best friend from college, knelt on the charred ground, reaching out as if grasping for something invisible. "Sarah? No way! Why are you here?" She looked up at me, her face twisted in agony. "Martha, please help me, beg God to save me." I tried to move closer, but an invisible barrier held me back. Sarah sobbed, her cries merging with the thousands of other voices. "I didn't believe. I missed my chance. I thought it was all a fairy tale, but I was wrong. Martha, don't let anyone follow this path." Tears filled my eyes. I wanted to save her, but I knew I couldn't. Behind me, a voice full of authority spoke. "This is the fate of those who turn their backs on me." I turned. Jesus stood there, his light untouched by the darkness. He looked at me with deep sorrow, but also with unwavering justice. "Many will not believe, many will mock this, but they do not know this is real." I looked at Sarah one last time. She was being pulled deeper into the abyss, her screams fading. Tears streamed down my face. "Lord, why? Can anything stop this?" He placed his hand on my shoulder, and in that moment, I felt his sorrow for the lost souls. "Warn them, Martha. Tell them before it is too late." At that moment, I was pulled away, faster than before. I was still shaking from what I had seen. Sarah's screams, the sea of lost souls, it all lingered in my mind. Before I could catch my breath, I was taken once again. This time, there was no fire, no suffering. I stood in a magnificent city, unlike anything on earth. The streets shimmered, the buildings stretched high into the sky, and in the central square, millions had gathered. They were cheering, exalting a man standing on a high platform. He was young, charismatic, and radiated an unnatural charm. When he spoke, the crowd was entranced. "O world, I have come to bring peace," he proclaimed. Thunderous applause followed. Millions knelt, eyes filled with hope. "I have seen your suffering," he said, his voice sweet yet dangerous. "Wars will end, poverty will disappear, and I will lead you into a new era." A chill ran through my body. Everything he said sounded perfect, but I did not feel true love from him. Suddenly, a radiant light surrounded me, and Jesus appeared beside me. "He will come with deception," Jesus said, "but you must warn them." I turned to him, my heart pounding. "Lord, who is he?" "He is the deceiver, the Antichrist, the one the world will call the Messiah." I looked back at the man. When he smiled, I saw a shadow flicker in his eyes. He did not wield a bloody sword, nor did he look like a monster. He had the perfect appearance to deceive the world. He comes in the name of peace, but within him is destruction. I saw dark forces lurking behind him, unseen but powerful. A voice whispered in my mind, not from God, but from him. "Trust in me, I will bring peace." I felt a pull, as if he was trying to lure me in. I was terrified, but Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder, and I felt absolute protection. "You must warn them, Martha." I nodded, my heart pounding. Jesus continued, "The world will not recognize him immediately. He will come as an angel of light. Only those with spiritual eyes will see the truth." I looked down at the crowd. They were still kneeling before him, blind to the deception. I wanted to scream, to warn them, but an invisible force held me back. "It is not yet time, Martha. When you return, you will have the chance to tell them." I opened my mouth to ask more, but suddenly I was pulled away once more. I was still trembling, my mind spinning from all I had seen. The cries of Sarah, the vision of hell, and the deceiver deceiving millions, they were etched into my soul. But then everything changed. The fear and heaviness lifted. A gentle, cool breeze touched my skin, filling me with peace. I opened my eyes. I stood in a breathtaking place. The air was filled with a light unlike anything on earth, warm, radiant, yet gentle. I heard singing. The melodies were unlike any I had ever heard, pure, harmonious, and resonating deep within my soul. I felt no pain, no sorrow, no fear. I was whole. I looked around, rolling golden hills stretched into the distance. The trees bore fruit of colors beyond imagination. A crystal-clear river flowed, its water shimmering like a living light. Then I saw them. Other souls. They radiated joy, pure, eternal joy. They didn't speak with words, but I could feel their love, their peace. I knew I belonged here. "You can stay here forever," a voice spoke. I turned, and Jesus stood before me. I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by his presence. He shone brighter than anything, yet I could see him more clearly than all else. His eyes held infinite love, but also an undeniable authority. Tears streamed down my face. "This is where you belong," Jesus said. His words filled me with a completeness I had never known. This was heaven, not just a place of beauty, but a place where every soul was whole in God's presence. I looked up, heart filled with longing. "Lord, I want to stay." But he shook his head gently. "It is not yet time, Martha. You must return." My heart ached. But why? I don't want to leave. Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder, and I felt a wave of divine peace. "You have a mission. The world is asleep. You must wake them." I opened my mouth to protest, but suddenly I was being pulled away. I reached out, trying to hold on, but heaven was slipping from my grasp. "Tell them before it is too late, Martha." His voice was the last thing I heard before I was plunged into darkness. A powerful force pulled me back. Suddenly, I woke up in the hospital. I gasped for air, tears streaming down my face. Daniel held my hand tightly, his eyes filled with relief. Thank God, you're back. I had returned, but I was no longer the same woman. From that day on, I could not stay silent. We are living in the most crucial time in history. Promises of peace and unity may be an elaborate trap. Jesus showed me the truth, and now I pass it on to you. Will you believe, or will you wait until it is too late? Be vigilant. Seek the truth. Do not be deceived. Time is running out. Return to God before it is too late.